Hi, I'm Jeff Paterson, founder of Home Repair Tutor.
And I'm DiBlasi, Elite Tile Company. I'm in the Boston area.
And I'm in Pittsburgh. So we figured, even though I'm a Steelers fan, and I'm sure you're a Patriots fan,
Yeah.
we'd come together and make this great video on Thinset.
And I'm going to be talking in my part of the video, we're going to divide the video up. I'm going to be talking about some errors that are made, especially spot bonding. And Jeff is going to talk about proper methods of
how to apply the Thinset to the back of the tile, commonly known as back buttering, and the pattern of the Thinset that you want to see whenever you're applying it to the wall or a tile.
And yeah, because there's one of the major problems when installing tile is the actual application of the Thinset and troweling and just the coverage of the Thinset. So we felt that it was important to give some good information on what the proper methods are and what the problems are.
So these quick tips, hopefully they help you with your own project when it comes to tile work, and they help you do the project the right way. So we're going to be jumping into the video. The first part of the video is going to be Sal sharing his knowledge about what you should do and what you shouldn't do with the Thinset.
Yeah, and I'm going to go over the errors, actually one of the most common errors, and then Jeff is going to give us some information on the things you should actually do.
So we're going to jump into the video right now.
Thanks.
Okay, so what we're going to talk about today is spot bonding, which is an improper way of installing tile on a surface, whether it be a wall or a floor. Now, what is spot bonding? Spot bonding is when you get a tile, you mount globs of tile, globs of Thinset on the back of the tile. Most of the time it's like five globs, but sometimes they'll use 6 or 9. It doesn't really matter how many. The point is that you don't that they put globs or mounds of Thinset on the back of the tile. Then what they'll do is they'll get that tile and push it into the surface, whether it be a wall or a floor. And the reason they do this is because it makes it easy for the installer to get a flat, even surface and get very little lippage or eliminate lippage, because they can push the tile in and out, a corner or whatever, and get the tiles even. The problem with that is that Thinset's not designed to be used in globs. What happens is, now you got the tile on your wall, let's say, and you've got these mounds and you pushed it into the substrate and you got a nice even surface. Now on the back of the tile you've got all kinds of voids. It's just very little of the tile is actually supported, and so you've got a lot of empty spaces behind the tile. And the other issue with that also is that the Thinset, as it dries, it'll shrink, pull away from the tile, and leave the tile with very little support and very little bond. Now some guys will also spread a layer of Thinset with a notch trowel on the surface, and then they put the mounds on the back of the tile, the spots, and then they push it in, thinking that way they're going to get good coverage. Not true. Doesn't happen. There's still going to be a lot of empty spaces. And another reason to do this is because you can avoid doing the needed prep work. If you've got a rough surface and you know it's not well prepared, you can get a flat, even surface without doing hardly any prep, because you got these big globs of Thinset behind the tile. So doing it this way, by the time you're done, you're probably going to have a nice, good-looking tile job, even, etc., etc. But in short order, you're going to get all kinds of problems. Because the tile isn't properly supported, and Jeff's going to go over these details on how to spread your Thinset and what kind of coverage you're supposed to have, etc., etc. And because you don't have the recommended coverage and you don't have the support that the tile needs, it's subject to cracking very easily, to becoming completely unbonded to the floor. The corners can crack, you can break off. all the voids behind the tile is just a big, huge issue. So if you're in a dry area, you've already got huge problems. Now, if you do that in a wet area, you've got even more problems, because let's say in a shower stall, you've got all these voids behind the tile. You've got all these empty spaces, and the water in a shower is going to penetrate behind the tile, and as it gets behind the tile, it's gonna accumulate, and you're going to get mold and mildew and who knows what else growing behind there. So that's another problem. And then the tile can also discolor, and depending on the kind of tile, you get dark and light areas of tile, discoloration, all sorts of things. I've even seen mold, especially on natural stone. I've even seen mold grow inside the tile. The actual tile has mold growing in it. So if you're gonna install tile, you need to use proper methods and proper procedures so that you don't run into these issues. Yeah, sometimes you can find a method that is going to make it a little bit easier. It's going to give you a good looking job with less effort, but by not getting the coverage that you need for the tile, for the thinset, you're going to have in short order, you're going to have all kinds of problems. So now, you know, these are the problems that you can have, and it's just some of the problems. Jeff is going to go over the main points that you need how to use thinset and what you need to achieve for proper coverage and that kind of stuff. So I'm going to hand it off to Jeff, and he's going to give you some good information that you really need to know.
In this part of our video, we're going to be talking about thinset coverage and back buttering. Is back buttering absolutely necessary? It is absolutely not. But it does provide you with extra insurance that your tile is going to stick to the substrate. Many of the tips that you're going to see here in a second come from the TCNA handbook. If you're not familiar with the Tile Council of North America handbook, check it out. It's a really great guide. So for example, in the TCNA handbook, they recommend that 80% of the back of a tile be back buttered if the tile is going to be in a dry area. Well, what do you do for a tile that's going to be in a wet area like a shower or a bathroom floor? Well, the TCNA recommends that 95% of the back of the tile be covered in thinset. We're going to go over that in a moment here. Also, you want the thinset to be evenly spread on the back of the tile. You don't want 20% to be right here, and then the other 60 to 70% of it to be all over here. Just evenly spread the thinset on the back of the tile. The other super important thing when thinking about thinset coverage is the size of your notch in your trowel. So here is a Curdy trowel. It's a 1/8 by 1/8 inch square notch trowel. You would never use this to adhere or set tile to a wall or a floor. It's only good for a Curdy board. This, on the other hand, is a 1/4 inch by 3/8 inch by 1/4 inch square notch trowel. And this is a really great option for certain tiles. And by the way, if you're looking for a recommendation on how to choose the correct trowel size, click right here. There's a video by Sal that's phenomenal. You should definitely check it out. All right, let's do some testing. This is just a standard 12 by 12 inch tile. And I'm going to turn it over. As you can see, the back of this tile is not flat. If it were, you could technically use a smaller trowel and still get good coverage on the back of the tile by back buttering and by using directional troweling on the wall or the floor. But as it stands, you can see this is not flat, and you have a lot of voids in here, and there's porosity to the tile. Because of all the voids on the back of this tile, it is advantageous to back butter it, because you're going to fill in all those voids and the pores with the thinset. And this will make it easier to achieve recommended coverage when the tile is placed on the comb thinset that's on the substrate. Okay, so let's dive into our test. Test number 1 is going to be using this Schluter Curdy trowel, totally undersized, definitely not meant for tiling or adhering a tile to a substrate, I should say. This first test, we're just going to spread the thinset onto the substrate here, which is Curdy board reversed. So we're just going to trowel the thinset on one direction. Here's our thinset. We have our directional troweling, so all the ridges are going in one direction. We're just going to put our tile on it and push down firmly into the Curdy board. So I'm gonna take this tile off and turn it over for you. If this tile was white, it would be even more apparent, but the coverage here is terrible. It's not great. None of the thinset is in the voids of the tile, and that's not good. This tile will definitely come up off the substrate over time. So this goes to show you that an undersized trowel is not good. This next test, we're going to be using a 1/4 inch by 3/4 inch by 1/4 inch square notch trowel. And what I'm going to do is show you why directional troweling is super important. Directional troweling is basically north, south, east, west. All the trowel ridges are in the same direction. Sometimes when you see videos on YouTube, you'll see somebody do these swirl patterns. So no back buttering of the tile here. We're just going to set it firmly into the Curdy board, or whatever substrate you want to pretend this is. And we're going to move it back and forth too. All right, let's go ahead and pick up this tile. So look, this is why directional troweling is good. This is a fairly big notch. You can see the trowel ridges are not collapsed. There's air pockets, there are air pockets in there, and the back of the tile isn't very well covered at all. There's lack of coverage here for the thinset. I don't even know what this approach is in terms of the coverage. Not good, definitely not 90 to 95%. So that's why directional troweling is super important. For this next test, we do have directional troweling. All the ridges are running in the same direction. And we're going to back butter the back of the tile using the flat side of the trowel. So we're going to fill in all the voids. So we pretty much have almost 100% coverage on the back of this tile. So this is back buttered with the flat side of the trowel. Now we're going to embed it into the directional ridges here. And we're going to move the tile back and forth across the ridge. We're going to collapse the ridges. All right. Now let's take a look at the back of this tile. So as you can see here, we've got great coverage. All the ridges were collapsed. The air is allowed to escape from those ridges. So when you collapse the ridges, the air is expelled from them, and you collapse the tile onto the thinset and you get great coverage. As you can see, all the voids in the back of the tile are covered in thinset, and it's really the collapsing of the ridges that provides the coverage. This final test, we have directional troweling, so all of the thinset is in one direction on the substrate, and we're also going to do directional troweling on the back of the tile. So the direction of the notches on the back of the tile match the notched pattern on the substrate. So what we're going to do is adhere this tile to the substrate. I'm going to clean this tile off here in a second. But we're going to collapse the ridges. We're going to move this tile back and forth just a little bit to collapse those ridges, expel all the air out of the thinset. All right, let's take this tile off the Curdy board. And again, you get great coverage when you use directional troweling and you use the double notch technique. Well, that's it. Hopefully you like these quick tips and they help you out with your own project. Make sure you subscribe to Sal's YouTube channel. It is phenomenal. And if you're doing tile work, you definitely want to watch a lot of his videos.
And don't forget to subscribe to Jeff's channel, because he has some really good information on his channel. And I think you're going to get some really good value out of of what he does. And don't forget home repair tutor as well.
Well, thanks so much for watching, and make sure you leave your comments down below. We'll definitely try to answer them, and we hope you have a great day.
Yeah, and remember, subscribe.